Good morning, everybody. This is a fireman's nozzle. That's what it's referred to as. Small opening, and I love this thing. I'm going to show you why. You get the water turned on here, back here into the underneath. It's very difficult for me. So, as you can see, this thing shoots quite a distance. And it comes down like rain. So, in these times right now here in Phoenix, where it's going to be 110 or 11 today, and it's been up to 115, 16 this week, plants like to have their foliage cleaned. I don't really understand it exactly, but, well, I think there's something to do with stomata opening up and cooling down and yada yada. But anyway. I was sitting in my truck over there talking on the phone, and I couldn't help but notice all my roses have got just a ton of new growth on the edges. And given the time of year it is and how hot it's been, I've really been kind of surprised. But every other day since it got really hot, this is what I've been doing. I'll get out here very early in the morning. This is about as late as I've gotten started. It's like 7 o'clock now. Usually it's closer to right at sun up, or I've also come and done it in the evening as well. You know, around 7:38, just before sundown. And actually, by the time I finished the other day, it was dark out here. But just kind of hosing the foliage off. And Tyler Francis Rose is the one that told me, recommended this to me. He said roses especially love overhead sprays. It's just not cost effective to do it. Wastes a lot of water. You can see the water misting off as I do this, especially as you get up in the sunlight. You know, some of it just evaporates before it ever even hits the ground. But so yeah, I'll come out and do this, and it also gives me a chance to clean the bird poop off my walls and stuff. And you got to be a little bit careful about really hurting the foliage, so I try to stay far away. Like you can see, I'm easily 18, 20, well maybe 15, 18 feet away from these plants. I wouldn't do it up close. But I've got other roses over here on the other side. You can see all the way over by the driveway. And so just letting it come down like rain, get these trees wet, and they act kind of like swamp coolers, and it really makes a big difference. So if you want to do something extra for your plants in these extreme heat days, this is what I recommend, the fireman's hose. And you'll also feel, especially in the evening, if you do this and you get a big tree wet, it really does act like a swamp cooler, and cools down the whole area. So I'll spend about 20 or 30 minutes going around doing this on this little itty bitty front yard of mine. So I guess that's Dave's secret tip of the week. Hit this on the olive. I like to go up and down the trunk and really get the trunk soaked itself, and then get up there into the foliage too, and it drips. This tree is fairly new. It came in November, I think, and it doesn't have any irrigation. All I've been doing is hand watering it when it looks like it's dry, because they're somewhat temperamental when they first get them in, especially as big as this one was. So this thing was about 72 inches wide, but it was a short box, so it was only about 36 inches deep. But just get up there, get all the foliage wet, knock the dust off of them, and I can already feel the temperature dropping in this area just from doing this for a couple of minutes. So you see it coming down, like raining down on the lavenders and that. Oh, these boxwoods, I was going to show you these two. These are transplants. Get the camera right. As you can see, I'm not a experienced YouTuber here. But these are all transplants from a client's house that just got tired of dealing with them, because you see how they're kind of browning out in the heat. Now, a week ago, before we got up over 110, these were all green. There was no brown. When we went to France a couple years ago, this is what they make the box parterres at Versailles. A lot of them are with this shrub. And on the inside, you'll see on this side, the ground level's down here. And you get on this side and it's much higher. The soil's right up against it. And that's how they did it in Versailles, and they had flowers on the inside. It kind of freaked me out, because I've always been led to believe, you never want to pile soil up over the stems or whatever, but you can't argue with 300 years of a certain gardening technique. Now, granted, their weather's a little different than ours, but anyway, so I'm giving it a try at my own place, because if it works, it'll be a neat addition, something new to add to, what we can deliver. But these I get kind of rough with. I'm pretty close, and these are really pretty woody shrubs. So I get real close, and I know that moving the branches around like this stimulates hormones in them and makes them thicken up a little bit. So that can't be a bad thing. And also the additional water around, because I do have emitters at the bottom of these, but there's nothing up on the hill. So if they're going to root out from the stems into the hillside, it's going to be because of the supplemental water. So, but I am pretty consistent about giving them supplemental water on the hillside, because I was doing this even before it got really hot, because this is really a experiment that I'm pretty interested to see how it works out. So, and you might say, why is there a cone in your yard, Dave? Well, that's a place that I'm planning on finding a piece of art to put there, in that little empty lobe over there. Haven't found it yet. But I should remove the cone. I initially put the cone there just so I could spot it from the cul-de-sac and see how it looked from different angles, and if it was blocking Rebecca here. This is our second Rebecca. My wife says, oh, we gotta get this string algae off of there. It's like, all the fountains in Europe have this. It's kind of cool. Now, if it gets to be too much, I'll pull it off. But in the meantime, it's given the water drip pattern a much neater kind of pattern, which I like. So I'm going to leave it. I love the green down here on the limestone. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all for Dave's Garden this Saturday.